Ashley started coming home later than usual. Her shifts at the hospital were never predictable, but suddenly they became suspicious. She'd always been tired, sure, graveyard shifts will do that to anyone, but now she was dressing up more, putting on perfume before leaving, something she hadn't done for months. She said she'd picked up extra hours to cover for a coworker. I wanted to believe her. But something didn't sit right. Conversations got shorter. Eye contact faded. She'd sit next to me on the couch like I was just another piece of furniture. There was a time we'd talk for hours, about work, about dreams, about our daughter's school plans. Now it was just silence and a glow of her phone screen. One night, after we visited a school for our daughter, I mentioned how nice it would be to spend the evening together. She blinked, looked confused, then said, "Oh. Didn't I tell you? I have to go in tonight." She hadn't. That night I asked her if there was someone else. Her eyes lit up with fury, not sadness, not confusion, just anger. "Are you insane?" she snapped. "You need help." I didn't bring it up again. But I stopped trusting her. A week later, I bought an air tag and taped it under her car. I told myself it was crazy. I felt like a stalker. But I couldn't let the not knowing eat me alive. The next time she stormed out after a fight, muttering something about a double shift, I opened the app. She didn't go to work. She drove across town and parked outside an apartment building I didn't recognize. She stayed there all night. I sat in the dark with the screen glowing in my hand, watching the dot that was her car, not moving. My wife, Ashley, was lying to me. And now I had proof. The next morning, she walked into the house like it was any other day. Set her bag down, opened the fridge, and asked if we had any orange juice left. I said nothing. My hands were shaking, phone still in my pocket, AirTag data burned into my brain. She slept at his place. Not the hospital. Not a friend's couch. His. I stared at her, wondering how long it had been going on. Wondering what lies she'd tell this time. Wondering if she even felt guilt, or if this was just a game she was good at playing. "Ashley," I said quietly, "where were you last night?" She turned, still holding a glass of juice. "I told you. I had a shift." I pulled out my phone and turned the screen to her, the Find My app glowing with the exact route she took last night, right to the apartment, staying in one place for 8 hours straight. Her face changed instantly. A flush of red crept up her neck. She didn't even ask what that was. She knew. "You tracked me? Are you insane?" That was her defense. Not denial. Not explanation. Just outrage. I didn't shout. I didn't cry. I just looked at her like a stranger I'd never met. "Who is he?" She threw the juice into the sink. "It's not what you think." I laughed. I actually laughed, bitter and sharp. "You think I don't recognize the signs? I've known you for 13 years. You're a terrible liar." She looked down. That was the moment I saw it, the flicker of guilt. "It didn't mean anything," she said, barely above a whisper. "So you did cheat?" She said nothing. The silence was louder than a scream. I walked away, into the bedroom, locked the door, and sat on the floor. I didn't want to hear her voice anymore. I didn't want more lies. I needed air. Space. Anything but this house that suddenly reeked of betrayal. That night, she slept on the couch. I didn't say a word. The next morning, I called in sick. And then I did something I never thought I'd do. I drove to that apartment. I waited in my car for 2 hours. And then he came out. Mid-30s. Athletic. Confident walk. Leather jacket. Sunglasses even though it was cloudy. He didn't look like someone worth burning a family for. But what do I know anymore? I followed him. He drove to a gym across town. I parked nearby. Watched him greet the receptionist with a smile, flexing slightly as he passed the mirror. I took out my phone and snapped a photo. I didn't know what I'd do with it yet. I just needed something real. Something to hold. And then, the worst part. As I watched through the windshield, he pulled out his phone. He was texting someone. And then he smiled. That smile told me everything I needed to know. She wasn't sorry. She was still in contact. This wasn't over. This was still happening. And I knew, if I didn't act now, I'd lose myself in it. But what I didn't know yet, was just how far this would go. The photo I took of him sat on my dashboard like some kind of trophy. I hated it. I hated that I had to do this. I hated that this man, this stranger, had become such a central figure in my story without even knowing my name. I didn't want to be the guy who stalks his wife's lover. But I couldn't let it go. That night, I waited until Ashley went to work. She kissed our daughter goodnight, told her she'd bring pancakes in the morning, and walked out like nothing had happened. Like her life wasn't stitched together with lies and perfume in someone else's hands. Once I heard her car turn the corner, I grabbed my keys. It was late when I got to his building. My heart pounded so loudly I was sure people could hear it from across the street. I didn't know what I was going to say. I didn't even know if he'd answer. But I had to see him up close. I buzzed his apartment. Waited. Nothing. Then I tried again. Still nothing. I stood there for a full minute, considering whether to leave, and then the front door opened from the inside. A woman, late 20s, dark hair, wearing scrubs, walked out. She glanced at me and froze. "You looking for Tyler?" she asked. That name hit me like ice water. "Yes. I'm a friend," I lied. She laughed bitterly. "A friend, huh? Join the club." Before I could say anything, she added, "You one of his projects or just another victim?" I blinked. "Excuse me?" She sighed and leaned against the railing. "I'm his sister. Technically. I live upstairs. I've seen girls come and go for the last year. He's always got some sob story, always some connection that turns out to be just sex. He doesn't care who gets hurt. Honestly, I've stopped keeping track." My throat went dry. She looked me up and down. "You don't look like one of them." "I'm not. I'm her husband." She froze. Her eyes widened. "Oh." For a moment, we just stared at each other, two people dragged into Tyler's vortex for different reasons. "I'm sorry," she said, genuinely. That's awful. Do you know how long it's been going on?" She shook her head. "No idea. But if she was at his place last Thursday?" "That's not the first time." I nodded. "I figured." Then she said something that made my blood freeze. "He told me he was seeing someone married. Said it made him feel powerful. Like he was stealing something that wasn't his. I told him he was disgusting. He said, she keeps coming back. Who's the real monster?" My hands curled into fists. I turned to leave. I didn't trust myself to speak. But before I walked away, she grabbed my arm. "You didn't hear this from me," she whispered, "but he's planning a trip. Palm Springs. Soon. He's been saving for it." I didn't ask with who. I already knew. That night, I couldn't sleep. I sat in our bedroom while Ashley showered. I looked at our family photos on the wall. Our daughter's painting taped to the dresser. The perfume bottle she thought she'd hidden under the bed. And I thought about Palm Springs. She was planning to take a vacation with him. A love getaway. While I was at home making school lunches. The next day, I checked her browser history. Flights. Hotels. Excuses. She was going to tell me it was a conference. That's when I made my decision. If she wanted an escape, fine. I'd give her one. But it wouldn't end the way she expected. Because the real betrayal wasn't just the affair. It was that she thought I'd never fight back. I waited. Not just for her lies to pile up, those came easy. I waited for her to commit to the fantasy. I wanted her so far gone that there was no coming back. I wanted the moment of collapse to be total. First, I started with her friend Madison. Madison and Ashley had been close for years. Girls' trips, late-night phone calls, brunch every other Sunday. I never paid much attention. But I remembered one thing: Madison hated liars. And she had a strict moral compass. Old-school Catholic guilt. The works. I messaged her. Hey. I know this is awkward. But do you know if Ashley has talked about a guy named Tyler? She replied 2 hours later. What? Tyler who? I sent a photo. Him outside the gym, mid-smirk. Please tell me she hasn't been lying to you too. Madison went silent. Then. I'm coming over. When she arrived, she looked pale. She didn't even sit. Just stood in the living room, arms crossed, eyes on fire. She told me he was a trainer at her work. That they were doing early morning health sessions before her shift. I believed her. God, I defended her. I showed her the AirTag maps. The hotel search. The Palm Springs plans. Madison nearly cried. She said she was going for a professional summit. She asked me to help cover for her with you. So that was it. The betrayal wasn't just mine anymore. It was hers too. I asked Madison for one favor. A setup. Don't let her know I know. Pretend like everything's fine. Let her talk. Let her lie. And just, record it. Just one time. So I can finally put this whole act to bed. She didn't even hesitate. Done. 2 nights later, I had the audio. Ashley. Laughing. Saying she couldn't wait to finally have a bed to ourselves. Saying I'd never suspect because I still thinks I'm exhausted from night shifts. Then they joked about what excuse to use if I found the flight receipt. I listened once. Then I deleted it. I didn't need more poison in my head. I needed closure. A move. So I made mine. I called her job. Asked if she was on the schedule for next week. They said no. She had requested time off. So I made a booking, at the same resort in Palm Springs. But under my name. 1 room. 1 king bed. Arrival same day. I was going to be there before her. I was going to greet her when she walked in. And I wasn't going to scream. I wasn't going to break down. I was going to smile. The night before the flight, I packed everything she'd hidden, the lingerie she bought, the fake conference brochure she printed, even the perfume bottle she said was just something she got free at work. I placed them in a gift bag. With a note. For your big weekend. Don't worry. I won't be waiting when you get back. That bag would be waiting at the front desk under her name. I canceled her credit card I co-signed. I changed the locks. Froze the joint account. Called my lawyer. That night, while she slept beside me, I stared at the ceiling. Tomorrow, she'd walk into her fantasy. And find out it was all real. Just not the way she wanted. But what I didn't expect was what he would do next. The flight left LAX at 7:10 a.m. I already knew she booked the earliest one. She told me she had a mandatory breakfast seminar. God, the creativity she wasted on lies. I arrived in Palm Springs first. Checked into the resort. Watched the sky change color through the curtains, wondering if her heart would drop the moment she saw my name on the guest screen. I left the bag for her at reception. Then I waited. I didn't want to see her. I didn't need the screaming match. I just wanted her to know. That I knew. That her story had ended, and this was the final chapter she didn't get to write. But something happened I didn't expect. She never checked in. I waited until 4 p.m. Nothing. I called her phone. No answer. Checked the flight manifest, her name was on it. I called her friend Madison. She hadn't heard from her either. The next day, I drove back to LA. Every hour that passed, the story in my head got worse. Maybe she went straight to Tyler. Maybe they eloped. Maybe she panicked and ran. Maybe something happened. But then, as I pulled into our driveway, I noticed it. A car parked across the street. Tinted windows. Engine off. I didn't recognize it. I went inside. Our daughter was at school. I had the house to myself. I poured a drink, didn't even bother with ice, and sat in the silence. That's when the knock came. Not on the door. On the window. I froze. Stepped slowly to the living room. Pulled back the curtain. Tyler. Standing there. Wearing sunglasses. At night. He gestured for me to come outside. Every instinct told me to lock the door. Call someone. Stay put. But I didn't. I walked out. We stood in the cold air, two men who hated each other without ever having shared a word. She didn't show, he said. I know, I replied. He lit a cigarette. Didn't offer me one. Just stared at the sky. I thought maybe she'd call me. Apologize. Something. But nah. You broke her. I blinked. I broke her. He laughed. You don't get it. You were just the background noise. She was mine the moment she stopped looking you in the eye. I clenched my fists. She's gone, man, he said flatly. No one knows where. She's not with me. She's not with Madison. She's not on social. Her phone's off. Even her mom says she hasn't heard from her. That got my attention. She ran, bro. She burned it all down and disappeared. My mouth went dry. And you think I'm scared, he said, stepping closer. I'm not. But you should be. What the hell does that mean? He smiled. You don't know Ashley like I do. Then he walked off. I watched him drive away, red lights disappearing into the night. Back inside, I stood in the kitchen, hands shaking. Ashley was gone. Not with him. Not with family. No messages. No explanations. Nothing. And for the first time since this nightmare started, I felt something new. Not rage. Not betrayal. But fear. Because someone who lies like that, runs like that, vanishes without a trace. Doesn't run empty-handed. She was planning something. And I had no idea what was coming. She came back after 3 weeks. Same dress she wore for her conference trip. Dark circles under her eyes. Frazzled. And scared. I didn't say a word. I placed my phone on the table, hit record, and stared. Start talking. And she did. She confessed it all. Tyler manipulated her. He convinced her to install spyware on my laptop. They drained my business account together. He promised they'd start a new life after Palm Springs. Then he ghosted her. With the money. And with video recordings. Of them. Together. In every way. He blackmailed her. Said if she didn't bring him another $10,000, the videos would go online. Sent her one as a preview. She didn't come back for forgiveness. She came back because she had no one else. Too bad I already knew. While she vanished, I got busy, hired a private investigator. Found Tyler's real name and history. Turned over his financial scams to the bank fraud division. Downloaded everything from his cloud storage, he reused passwords, genius. Sent it all to my lawyer. Oh, and I filed for divorce. Full custody. Frozen accounts. Restraining order pending. I handed her the legal documents. You wanted a new life? Here's the start. She trembled. Tears welled. What about Tyler? He's gone. But the IRS knows his name now. She dropped to her knees. I didn't move. Because I wasn't the same man she betrayed. The next morning, I posted a short video. No names. No faces. Just a quote. Never underestimate the one who listens quietly. Thank you to everyone who lied to me. You taught me to see the back of a person before they even turn. It got 1.2 million views in 2 days. Sometimes revenge isn't a punch. It's silence that echoes louder than any scream. And when she walked out of my house that final time. No suitcase, no lover, no dignity. I smiled. She lost everything. And I finally found myself.